Picture this, it's Friday afternoon, your paycheck just hit your account, and for exactly 47 minutes, you feel rich. Then you blink, check your account on Monday morning, and somehow you're broke again. You have no idea where the money went. It just evaporated like it was never there in the first place. I used to do this too. Every single payday felt like Groundhog Day, except instead of reliving the same day, I was reliving the same financial panic 2 weeks later. And here's what's wild about this whole thing. The average person will receive about 1,040 paychecks in their lifetime. That's 1,040 opportunities to build wealth, or 1,040 chances to watch money disappear into thin air. There's a specific sequence of actions you can take in the first 24 hours after payday that will completely change your relationship with money. And I'm not talking about some complicated spreadsheet situation or tracking every coffee purchase. I'm talking about 7 steps that take maybe 20 minutes total. And if you do them in the right order, your money starts working for you instead of just passing through your account like a tourist. Here, I break down personal finance strategies that actually work for normal people who don't have trust funds or 6-figure salaries. If you're tired of feeling like your paycheck is playing hide and seek with you, and you want to actually feel in control of your money for once, hit that subscribe button and drop a like if this is already hitting close to home. Now, before we dive into the actual 7 steps, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how payday feels like Christmas morning, but by the time the weekend's over, it feels more like the day after Christmas when you're staring at your credit card bill? That whiplash between feeling flush and feeling broke happens because most people treat their paycheck like it's one big number instead of what it actually is. 7 different jobs that money needs to do. Think about what happens in most people's accounts on payday. The money lands. They see that balance. Their brain does this weird thing where it calculates how much they can afford to spend based on that total number. They grab dinner out because, hey, they just got paid. They buy that thing they've been eyeing on Amazon. They agree to plans they'd normally say no to. And here's the thing, none of those decisions are wrong by themselves, but they're making them in the wrong order. And that order is costing them thousands of dollars a year without them even realizing it. There's this concept in behavioral economics called mental accounting, which is just a fancy way of saying your brain treats money differently depending on where it comes from and where it's going. A tax refund feels like free money, even though it's literally your own money the government borrowed interest-free. Your paycheck feels spendable, even though most of it is already spoken for. And here's what most people completely miss. You can hack this quirk in your brain by creating separate mental accounts before your impulses kick in. When you have $3,200 in your checking account, your brain sees $3,200 of possibilities. But when you deliberately split that into $800 for rent, $400 for groceries, $200 for gas, $150 for utilities, $300 for debt payments, $500 for investments, and $850 for everything else, suddenly that $3,200 doesn't feel like spending money anymore. It feels like it's already assigned. And that psychological shift is where everything changes. Here's where it gets really interesting. There's actual neuroscience behind why the first hour after payday is so dangerous. Your brain releases dopamine when you see money hit your account. It's the same chemical response you get from winning at a slot machine or getting likes on social media. And in that dopamine-fueled state, you make terrible financial decisions because your prefrontal cortex, the part that's supposed to be rational and forward-thinking, is basically taking a nap while the reward-seeking part of your brain is driving the car. So here's the 7-step sequence that hijacks that whole process. And I'm giving you these in a very specific order because the order matters more than you think. Step 1, the second your paycheck hits, and I mean within minutes if possible, move your investment money out of your checking account. Not tomorrow, not this weekend, right now. Transfer whatever percentage you've committed to into your investment account, whether that's 10% or 3% or 20%. Get it out of sight immediately. Here's why this has to happen first. Every minute that money sits in your checking account, your brain is recalculating what you can afford. You see $3,200, you start thinking about that $200 thing you want. But if you immediately move $320 to investments, now you see $2,880, and your brain recalibrates around that new number. You've essentially made the decision before your impulses wake up. I've seen people try to do this backwards. They spend money throughout the pay period and then invest whatever's left over. And you know what's always left over? Almost nothing. Because lifestyle expansion is real and it's sneaky. If you see $3,200 all month, you'll somehow find a way to spend $3,150 of it. But if you only ever see $2,880, you'll find a way to live on $2,880. Step 2, and this happens literally right after the investment transfer. Pay your future self before you pay anyone else. Move money into your emergency fund or your targeted savings goals. If you're building an emergency fund, this is non-negotiable. If you already have your emergency fund, this is where you fund your car replacement fund, your vacation fund, your home down payment fund, whatever big thing you're working toward. Here's the kicker. Most people think about savings as what's left over after expenses. But what's left over after expenses is usually just enough to make you feel okay about ordering takeout. The wealthy have this completely backwards compared to broke people. Broke people think earn, spend, save whatever's left. Wealthy people think earn, save, spend whatever's left. And that tiny flip in order creates a massive difference in outcomes over time. Step 3, pay your fixed bills that are due before your next paycheck. And I mean the actual bills, not the I should probably have money for this expenses. Rent, mortgage, car payment, insurance, phone bill, anything with a due date and a late fee. Move that money into a separate account or, at minimum, subtract it from your mental available balance. This is where most people mess this up, and I see it constantly. They know rent is due on the 1st. It's the 15th. They figure they have 2 weeks to manage that money. So they spend $100 here and $80 there. And suddenly it's the 30th and they're doing mental gymnastics trying to figure out how to cover rent. Don't do that to yourself. Treat money for bills like it's already gone the second you get paid. Step 4, and stick with me here because this is where it gets counterintuitive. Now you pay your minimum debt payments. Notice this is step 4, not step 1. A lot of financial advice tells you to pay debt first. But here's the thing, if you pay debt before you pay yourself, you never build the cushion that prevents you from going back into debt the next time something unexpected happens. Your dog eats something expensive and needs emergency surgery. You know, Tuesday. If you have no emergency fund because you threw every dollar at debt, guess where that vet bill goes? Right back on a credit card. You just ran in place. But if you've been funding your emergency fund first, you pay for the emergency without new debt, and you keep making progress. Now here's what most people completely miss about debt payments. Paying minimums isn't sexy. It doesn't feel like progress. But paying minimums while building your emergency fund is actually way smarter than attacking debt aggressively with no safety net. Because once you have that cushion, once you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved, then you can throw everything extra at debt without the constant fear that one car repair will derail everything. Step 5. Now we get into variable expenses, and this is where your money gets assigned to categories, not just loose in your account. Groceries, gas, household stuff, whatever you know you'll need to spend money on before the next paycheck. And here's the secret. You're not trying to be perfect here. You're just trying to be intentional. Most budgeting advice makes this way too complicated. They want you tracking every transaction and updating spreadsheets and color-coding categories. That's not real life. Real life is you estimate you need about $400 for groceries and $150 for gas and $100 for random household stuff this pay period. You mentally or literally set that money aside. And if you spend $380 on groceries instead of $400, cool, you've got $20 of buffer. If you spend $420, you pull from the buffer or adjust something else. It's not about perfection. It's about knowing your money has a job before you start spending it randomly. Step 6. This is the fun part. This is your guilt-free spending money. Whatever's left after steps 1 through 5, that's yours. You can spend it on absolutely anything without guilt, without tracking, without justification. Dinner out, that thing on Amazon, concert tickets, new shoes, whatever. The reason this works is because you've already handled the important stuff. Your future is funded, your bills are covered, you're making progress on debt, you have money set aside for necessities. This is the psychological trick that makes the whole system sustainable. Most budgeting systems feel like deprivation. You're constantly telling yourself no. You're tracking every dollar like you're on financial house arrest. That works for about 3 weeks, and then you rebel and blow the whole thing up. But when you build in guilt-free spending money after taking care of the important stuff, you never feel deprived. You feel in control. And here's what happens over time that's actually kind of remarkable. That guilt-free spending money starts to feel like more than it is. When you know your bills are paid, your future is funded, and your emergency fund is growing, suddenly $300 of fun money feels abundant instead of restrictive. You start making different choices, not because you have to, but because you want to. You skip the impulse purchase because you'd rather save it for something better. That's the identity shift happening. Step 7. This one's going to sound weird, but trust me. At the end of payday, after you've done all 6 steps, you write down one number, your new checking account balance. Just one number. And you check it again in 3 days. Not every day, not multiple times a day, just once, 3 days later. Here's why this matters. Most people check their bank account constantly, like it's social media. Every time they check, they're making micro decisions about whether they can afford something based on that balance. But your balance on Tuesday means nothing if you haven't paid rent yet. Your balance on Thursday means nothing if you're forgetting about the annual insurance payment that hits next week. Constant balance checking creates false confidence or false panic, and both lead to bad decisions. But when you check your balance 3 days after payday, after you've done all the important moves, you're seeing the real picture. You're seeing what you actually have to work with for the next 2 weeks. And you're training yourself to trust the system instead of constantly second-guessing it. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but also kind of robotic and boring. Where's the spontaneity? Where's the fun? And here's the thing, this system doesn't eliminate spontaneity, it enables it. When you know exactly what you can spend without consequences, you can be way more spontaneous than someone who has no idea if they can actually afford something. Think about it. Right now, if someone invites you to a last-minute weekend trip, what goes through your mind? Probably anxiety. Can I afford this? What's in my account? What bills are coming up? Do I have enough? You're doing mental math while trying to seem casual. But when you've got a system, when you know your bills are handled and you've got $400 of guilt-free spending money, that decision becomes simple. Either the trip fits in that $400 or it doesn't. No anxiety, no mental gymnastics, no checking your account 17 times. But here's where most people mess this up, and I see it constantly. They do this system for like 2 or 3 paychecks, they start seeing progress, and then they reward themselves by blowing the next paycheck. They skip the steps because they deserve a break from being responsible. And look, I get it. Delayed gratification is hard. Your brain wants the dopamine hit now, not in 6 months when your emergency fund hits $5,000. But here's what that version of you doesn't realize. Breaking the system once doesn't just cost you one paycheck. It costs you momentum. It costs you the compound effect of consistency. And most importantly, it costs you the identity shift that happens when you prove to yourself that you're the type of person who follows through. There's this concept called temporal discounting, which is just a fancy way of saying we value immediate rewards way more than future rewards, even when the future reward is bigger. Your brain would rather have $50 today than $100 in a month. It's irrational, but it's how we're wired. The only way to fight it is to make future you feel real, not abstract, not theoretical, real. So here's what I want you to do. Think about yourself 1 year from today. Same job, same income, but imagine you followed these 7 steps for every single paycheck for a year. That's 26 paychecks if you're paid bi-weekly. If you invested just 10% of a $60,000 salary, that's $6,000 invested. If you saved another 10% for emergencies and goals, that's another $6,000. You've got $12,000 more than you have right now, and you probably didn't even feel the difference month to month because you were spending the same guilt-free money you're spending now. Now imagine the version of you that didn't do this. Same job, same income, but every paycheck just disappeared into the void like it always has. A year from now, they're in the exact same financial position they are today. Maybe worse because life happened and they had to put some emergencies on credit cards. Which version of you do you want to be? Because I'm telling you right now, that future version of you is watching this moment. They're watching to see if you're going to be the person who actually follows through or the person who watches finance videos and then does nothing. The wealthy don't have some secret investment strategy you don't know about. They don't have access to magical accounts or insider information. What they have is a system that runs automatically, and they started it earlier than most people. That's it. That's the whole secret. They decided their paycheck would do 7 specific jobs in a specific order, and then they let that system run for years. Your first $1,000 saved is harder than your second $1,000. Your first $10,000 is harder than your second $10,000. Not because the math changes, but because you change. You become the type of person who has money saved. You become the type of person who doesn't panic when the check engine light comes on. You become the type of person who can walk away from a job that's making you miserable because you've got 6 months of expenses in the bank. These 7 steps aren't about the money. They're about becoming the person who controls money instead of being controlled by it. Start this routine with your very next paycheck. Don't wait for the perfect time or the bigger paycheck or the first of the month. Your future self is counting on the decision you make right now.